I woke to a ping on my phone, a subtle vibration that immediately made my chest tighten. It was another group chat notification, another flood of cruel messages about Aunty, each one sharper than the last. My fingers trembled as I scrolled, stomach sinking with every line, every fabricated detail meant to humiliate her. The rumors weren't just whispers anymore. They had a voice, a digital roar, echoing through the town with merciless precision. Friends, colleagues, even casual acquaintances, they whispered behind her back, some pretending to be supportive while smirking privately, delighting in her supposed misfortune. Asut, I remembered the first time I truly noticed her recoil from social gatherings. Her shoulders would stiffen, her eyes losing their spark when someone said something cruel, even in passing. It had always hurt me to watch, but now, seeing these messages, I understood the depth of that invisible wound. Later that afternoon, at the local cafe, the humiliation became tangible. A man leaned across a table, voice loud and deliberate, repeating one of the fabricated lies. Aunty flinched, her hands tightening around her coffee cup as though holding herself together. My blood boiled, a mixture of fury and helplessness churning inside me. The cashier glanced over, a smirk tugging at her lips, barely hiding amusement at Auntie's discomfort. I wanted to scream at them all, to demand they stop, but the tension in the air felt heavy, almost sacred in its injustice. Auntie's quiet dignity clashed sharply with the harsh laughter of strangers. It was surreal, like watching a beautiful painting being defaced in real time. People were recording her reaction on their phones. Phones pointed, laughter recorded, humiliation transformed into entertainment for those who didn't know the truth. The weight of decades of respect, of kindness, reduced to digital mockery, pressed down on me in waves. I reached for her, attempting to comfort, but words failed. Her trembling hands, the tight line of her jaw, told a story far louder than I ever could. Every gesture, every slight quiver of her shoulder spoke of a life lived with grace under unrelenting scrutiny and cruelty. That night, alone in my room, I replayed the incident in my mind. The echo of laughter clawed at my chest like nails on a chalkboard, each repetition sharp, unrelenting. And yet, amidst the rage and despair, I noticed it, the first spark in her eyes. Something cold, precise, terrifying in its calm deliberation. A plan was forming. I could feel it in the air, a tense electricity between the urge to erupt in fury and the patience brewing behind her silence. The contrast was almost cruel in its perfection, the world mocking, laughing, unaware, while she quietly gathered herself, preparing. And then she walked away, slowly, head held high, every step deliberate. But the memory of that smirking bully lingered, a searing brand against my consciousness. That night, I realized something irreversible had shifted. The quiet woman who endured had now become a storm in waiting, and I could feel its approach like a pulse beneath my skin. I've watched her from the very beginning, long before anyone dared to mock or whisper about her. Auntie's early years were a battlefield of subtle dismissals and constant underestimation. No one noticed how sharp her mind was, how fiercely she dreamed, because louder voices always drowned her out. Schoolyards were cruel, each betrayal a bruise she carried silently. Her first heartbreak didn't come from love alone. It came from the whispers, the lies spun around her by those who should have cared. I remember her recounting it once, eyes distant, voice barely above a whisper, the sting of humiliation still fresh decades later. Family gatherings were no refuge. Her opinions vanished beneath arrogant chatter, her voice swallowed by relatives who refused to acknowledge her worth. I've seen her sit quietly, smile tight and polite, while the world overlooked her. Late at night, I found her writing in her journal, pages full of pain, but also calculated plans, dreams and strategies interwoven with heartbreak, a blueprint for reclaiming the respect that had always been denied to her. Her first real love was a fragile thing, shattered by rumors that poisoned trust before it could blossom. That heartbreak left a careful armor, a guarded patience, and a wariness of the world that never quite left her. In her career, she was relentless, yet promotions were delayed, opportunities blocked, not by incompetence, but by whispers in corridors, falsehoods that sought to chain her. Friends who had sworn loyalty faltered under social pressure, leaving her to endure alone. I feel the weight of it all when I see her smile now, the softness of it concealing decades of accumulated humiliation. Every slight, every betrayal, every unnoticed act of kindness has pressed against her for years, and yet she carries it with grace. The first sparks of her resilience were subtle, quiet defiance in small acts, private victories that no one else could witness. Every time she helped someone unnoticed, every small triumph, she was silently building an inner fortress no rumor could touch. Her silence was never submission, it was strategy. Every pause, every careful observation, a lesson in survival. And beneath it all lay a hidden trauma, a betrayal from someone she trusted completely, a mentor whose lies nearly destroyed the fledgling career she had fought to create. She once confided in me, voice trembling, about the moment she realized some people live only to see others fall. That realization did not break her. It hardened her, sharpened her patience, and planted the seeds for a storm no one saw coming. Every slight, every betrayal she endured, every whisper of doubt cast in her direction became fuel. Each injustice a spark for the fire she was quietly stoking, preparing for the moment the world would finally see the truth. The gossip spread faster than wildfire, leaping from phone to phone, chat to chat, until it was everywhere. Screenshots of conversations I never expected to exist appeared in group threads, cruelly twisted and perfectly framed to humiliate her. Auntie's reputation was under siege. Colleagues avoided her gaze, neighbors snickered as she walked past, and even strangers left comments online, some blunt, some sly, all calculated to wound. I watched her closely, feeling the tug of war in her eyes, the weight of despair pressing against the sharp edge of controlled fury. A rumor about a business decision she had never made surfaced on a local forum. It was whispered, repeated, amplified by those who didn't care for facts, only for entertainment. Then came the tagging on social media. Every post, every comment cut deeper than the last. Each joke was crueler, each accusation sharper, and all eyes were on her. Why? I noticed the precision in her observation. Which accounts posted first? Which friends hesitated? Who stayed silent? She cataloged behavior as carefully as a detective, measuring reactions with quiet calculation. At a community event, tension reached a new high. Someone attempted a public confrontation, expecting to break her composure. She walked away calmly, expression stoic, like a fortress no arrow could pierce. My heart raced. I could feel the adrenaline spike, knowing the time for patience was transforming into strategy. Behind closed doors, she began compiling evidence. Screenshots, timestamps, every single message filed with meticulous precision. Each detail was a thread in the net she was weaving, a storm no one saw coming. The energy in town shifted subtly. Gossipers, once confident and loud, started to sense an unspoken undercurrent of fear. I almost intervened in those moments, my instinct screaming to protect her, but I realized something critical. She had to execute this herself. The bullies sensed hesitation, the tiniest crack in the world they thought they controlled, yet they couldn't see the meticulous planning behind her calm exterior. Every glance, every pause, every seemingly quiet action carried a calculated intent. I felt it radiating from her, almost like electricity. Each injustice, every slight, every sneer, fueled her quiet resolve. She was no longer just enduring, they were stepping into a storm of her design, and I could see it forming, sharp, inevitable, and utterly unstoppable. That night, my phone rang, jolting me awake. Auntie's name flashed across the screen, and when I answered, her voice was calm, too calm, but I felt the deadly precision in every syllable. "It's time," she said, and I heard in her tone the promise that those who had tormented her would finally face the consequences. I watched her resolve crystallize before me, invisible yet palpable. She was ready to release the screenshots, to let the truth speak with a force no whisper could counter. Every movement she made was deliberate. Sorting files, cross-checking dates, names, conversations, each piece of evidence stacked with surgical precision. A protective figure appeared at just the right moment. A lawyer, a trusted confidant, someone who could back her legally and shield her from the inevitable backlash. Their presence didn't dilute her power, it amplified it, lending a quiet weight to every action she took. She rehearsed her statement meticulously, every word measured, every emotion restrained, every fact undeniable. I could see the strategy etched in her posture, the controlled breathing, the eyes that no longer trembled at accusation. I felt the shift before it even happened. The ones who once mocked her, who laughed at her, scrolled past her with scorn, were now unknowingly under scrutiny. The tables were turning and the first tremors of fear were already stirring. A community event loomed, an arena where every eye would be on her, where the lies could be confronted publicly. She knew this, and she planned accordingly. When the moment came, she approached the first rumor calmly, her voice icy, precise. Each word struck like a hammer, leaving skeptics speechless, unable to deny what they had once twisted. I watched her quiet smile, predatory in its perfection. She had found her moment, and the satisfaction radiating from her was chilling and beautiful all at once. Humiliation would no longer be hers. It had shifted, carried now to those who had once wielded it so carelessly. Every screenshot she released was surgical. Each one exposed the lies without exaggeration, leaving the guilty raw, defenseless, and stunned. I could feel the balance of power tilt, irreversible and complete, and I knew nothing would ever be the same again. The screenshots went live across social media, each one posted with exact timing like a countdown to reckoning. I watched as the gossipers' world began to unravel. Panic flared. Some frantically tried to delete messages, others scrambled for excuses that rang hollow against the evidence she had so meticulously collected. At the town hall meeting, the confrontation became public. The room buzzed with murmurs as the ones who had mocked her tried to hold their composure. Their laughter, once sharp and cutting, faltered under her calm scrutiny. She stood there, composed, eyes steady, voice clear, letting the truth do the damage. Legal notices arrived quietly, but with devastating precision. No theatrics, no dramatic speeches, just accountability, enforced efficiently, leaving them no room for evasion. I watched faces flush with shame as whispered apologies were offered, some muttered, some barely audible, all forced by the weight of undeniable truth. Her emotional control was striking, a mirror of steel against their flustered attempts to shift blame. Every gesture, every carefully measured word, contrasted with their desperation and faltering arguments. Slowly, friends and allies began to step forward, defending her, emboldened by the courage she displayed. Some had remained silent for years, but her strength pulled them into the light. The town itself seemed to pivot. People began to recognize the vast gap between rumor and reality, the first cracks in the false narrative appearing like fissures in ice. I felt the culmination of years of patience and strategy. The humiliation she had endured now returned, not with vengeance for cruelty's sake, but with justice's sharp precision. The final showdown approached. One of the worst offenders stepped forward, expecting the fear or defiance he had known for years. Aunty didn't flinch. She simply presented the evidence, screenshots, timestamps, undeniable proof. The truth spoke for itself, and he had nothing to counter it. The impact was cinematic. Silence fell like a wave over the room, the realization spreading through everyone present. And there, in her eyes, I saw the subtle, devastating satisfaction of a storm finally released. Justice, legal, social, moral, was served simultaneously. The emotional intensity peaked, a crescendo of vindication that left no doubt. Aunty had turned humiliation into power, and power into complete, unassailable justice. Aunty walked through town with a renewed confidence that turned every head, not with fear, but with awe. The whispers that once mocked her now carried respect, a quiet acknowledgement of the storm she had weathered and the power she now wielded. Relationships that mattered most returned to her, strengthened by the undeniable truth of her character. Friends who had doubted her, neighbors who had snickered, even casual acquaintances, each began to recognize the depth and resilience she had always possessed. I reflected on the quiet transformation before me, a woman who had once been a victim, now the architect of her own justice. The air around her seemed charged with the weight of experience, every step deliberate, every gesture measured with the calm authority of someone who had reclaimed her life. The gossipers retreated. Some left town entirely, unwilling to face the fallout of their lies. Others were forced to rebuild their reputations from scratch, painfully aware of the consequences of their cruelty. Aunty quietly began mentoring others, sharing lessons in resilience and the art of strategic patience. She taught without grandstanding, her wisdom absorbed in moments of quiet conversation, her presence a living example of calculated strength. I noticed her laughter returning, soft, genuine, yet layered with the weight of everything she had endured. It was a sound that carried triumph without arrogance, subtle but profoundly moving. The community, slowly but surely, began to respect her privacy, understanding the cost of false rumors and the weight of unearned judgment. Small gestures of gratitude appeared from strangers, nods, smiles, silent acknowledgments of her strength and dignity. She did not boast. Her victory was silent, woven into the rhythm of everyday actions, unshakable and profound, a testament to endurance and quiet mastery. And as I watched her, I felt the tension finally dissolve, the emotional release washing over me. The storm had passed, but its lessons and victories remained, leaving a calm, satisfying certainty that justice had been served and dignity restored. I stand facing the camera, the city skyline glowing behind us, lights flickering like distant stars. My voice is low, reflective, carrying the weight of everything we've endured. I recount the journey, the whispers, the cruel laughter, the humiliation, the hidden wounds no one noticed, and the strategic patience that carried her from the edge of despair to the pinnacle of triumph. I emphasize the lesson: underestimation can be deadly when intelligence meets resolve. Those who mock, those who whisper, fail to see the storm quietly building beneath calm exteriors. On screen, viewers see the before and after, the rumors circulating like wildfire, the confrontation at the town hall, the screenshots that exposed every lie, and the aftermath where truth reclaimed its rightful place. I share Auntie's mantra, her quiet declaration of power: truth is silent until you make it roar. I reveal how controlled fury, careful patience, and meticulous planning turned years of humiliation into empowerment. Every act, every calculated move transformed despair into undeniable authority. I highlight the emotional journey, from helplessness to clarity, from fear to strategic confidence, showing the profound shift that only truth and patience can create. I reflect on a universal truth: respect cannot be demanded, it must be earned or reclaimed through resilience and courage. I leave the viewers with a question to carry with them: who in your life deserves the quiet justice they've earned? The final cinematic moment unfolds. Aunty walking confidently into the sunset, head held high, the city lights reflecting her victory like a mirror to her resilience. I encourage reflection. Online cruelty is fleeting, but patience, planning, and truth endure far beyond the reach of gossip. The final frame lingers on the screenshots, the undeniable proof, the ultimate vindication, a silent roar that cannot be ignored.